That should have been the cold opening.
Oh, yeah.
Anyways. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Escape Reality Star Wars Talk. I'm your host, Caleb.
Hi, I'm Seth. I talk Star Wars with this man.
This is the episode where we get mad at inanimate objects.
You get mad at
And then they get mad at me in return.
And then they get mad at you. I think... What was it?
Because it was like perfectly... So, y'all probably hear it if we stop talking.
Yeah.
But my laptop fan has been a known nuisance for a long time. I'm finally replacing it. I ordered it. I ordered the parts. I guess this is going into like what we've been up to this week.
Yeah.
I also upgraded my RAM because I wanted to play Avowed, and we talked about that last week.
Mm-hmm.
Did I say about how I was kind of brute forcing the game? I don't think I talked about that.
No.
So I was basically brute forcing the game to work. Because you see, Avowed requires 16 gigabytes of RAM, which is the now standard of a lot of PC games.
Mm.
The thing is, my computer has the old standard, which is 8 gigabytes of RAM. So I was just going, shove the 8 gigabytes into the 16-byte square hole. And the game was like, I guess we can make this work, but we're going to crash a lot. So I finally upgraded. I now have 32 gigs of RAM. So a little more, so that way I have some wiggle room. And that gives me room to be able to stream still. So that way if I stream Avowed or any other game, it's going to run a little bit more easily, right? Next upgrades are going to be getting hard drives after these fans. Because now I got fans ordered and they're coming in, I guess, when this episode airs, which is because we had to pre-record again.
Yeah. We're once again in that space where we are in the past, but you will get this in the future,
which will be the present. Yeah.
Which is my favorite joke.
What movie is that? Like, there's a movie that joke's like where they make that. I think Spaceballs does it. Yeah, it's Spaceballs.
Well, I've never seen that movie, so I wouldn't
You've never
know.
seen Spaceballs?
No, we've gone over this.
Okay, hold on. I have to show the clip now. And this is a case of I'm just going to share the clip with all of you as well. So, you know, because since the episode's shorter today anyways, because it's just quickly going to be...
The reason why I know that joke is because of one of my, like, favorite series where they explain the plot of Blaze Blue, which has a lot of time travel and theoretical physics going on, and they just get so mad at one of them where they're like, this is how it is.
Yeah. This is going to be a little bit more than the part I want, but I think that's fine. Making sure y'all will be able to hear it as well when I pop it into the... And then we'll... what I'll do to make this work... There we go. Okay, this is one of my favorite, like, Mel Brooks films,
okay.
Kind of growing, so that's how I know this joke. Uh-oh. Oh, I muted it, that's right. I was trying to mute it so that way we wouldn't... That way it wouldn't start before I was... Oh, I'm hitting all the buttons today. I'm hitting all the buttons.
Professional streamer.
Pardon me, sir. I have an idea. Corporal, get me the video cassette of Spaceballs the movie. Yes, sir.
I love that it has, like, Rocky 13, and it has all the other Mel Brooks
Colonel
films.
Sanders, may I speak with you, please? Yes, sir.
Like, it just...
How could there be a cassette of Spaceballs the movie? We're still in the middle of making it. That's true, sir. But there's been a new breakthrough in home video marketing. Yes. Instant cassettes. They're out in stores before the movie is finished. Nah.
Here it is, sir. Spaceballs.
Good work, Corporal. Punch it out. That's much too early. Prepare to fast forward.
Preparing to fast forward.
Fast forward.
Fast forwarding, sir.
And then you get to just see everything that's played in the movie so far.
And speed it up.
Oh, yeah, embarrassing moment for him.
No, go past this.
That's this part, because it's embarrassing.
Never play this again.
Never play this again. Rick Moranis is so great in this.
Try here. Stop.
Oh, here it is.
What the hell am I looking at? When does this happen in the movie? Now. You're looking at now, sir. Everything that happens now is happening now. What happened then? Past then. When? Just now. We're at now. Go back to then. When? Now. Now? No, I can't. Why? You missed it. When? Just now. When will then be now? Soon.
One of my favorite bits, like one of my favorite bits in Spaceballs, and there's a lot of good bits in that movie. But yeah, no, like that's what I always think of when we do that bit, where we're just like, we're in the present, which is the past, which will be the future, and it's very who's on first type of joke. It's a very like, very Abbott and Costello classic who's on first type material. And I think that's why it will always be funny.
Yeah. Who's on first is never not funny.
Yeah.
I guess it doesn't make sense if you don't know what baseball is.
But most people do.
Yeah.
Like, it's not even just an American thing. Like, it's a global thing. So, like, even then, unless you're, like, literally an alien from a different planet.
And they're like, what is this game that you speak of?
And even then, maybe there's a different sport you could translate that joke to. But, yeah.
Who's on first doesn't work for football.
No. Doesn't work for
football.
football.
That's because it's a different game.
Also kind of doesn't work for hockey.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of games, actually, that could work for. Actually, no, it is kind of just Spaceball specific. But no, anyways, yeah, so back to me fighting the computer today. So today, we were setting up for the recording. And I was getting the audio level set for us so that way we could start talking. And I said, I was like, it's being quiet today, it's working with me, but tomorrow I'm replacing it. And then I immediately, as soon as I say that, the fan goes,
and me, for some reason, deciding to be unnecessarily cryptic was like, Caleb, items bond to their users.
And I'm like, it's not a Ouija board.
I'm like, it might as well be sometimes.
But yeah, tomorrow you're gone, fans. And then we get quiet fans because I can replace them. And then, but yeah, I've been enjoying Avowed. I'm having to reinstall it because of some stuff. But yeah, after that, the next upgrade will be new hard drive space. Because the internal hard drive space isn't that, it's like 500 gigabytes, and I've already filled that. And then, just about anyways. And then I have external hard drives, but though I can't install games on those without them taking longer to run, right? And then I do have an internal hard drive in there, but it's only like, it's not much, it's like only just hitting a terabyte. So I'm looking at some 4 terabyte hard drives, both on the M2 and the internal SSD. So that will give 8 terabytes total, and they're only like 200 something each on Amazon right now. So that's what I've been up to. I've been hard working on being a PC gamer, which is funny because I know that Drew has been upgrading his PC, and he is passing his old PC to Tori, who's then passing her PC to Kenzie, essentially.
Yeah.
And then I was like, well, hey, since Seth isn't going to care, can I be next in the line?
You goddamn right I won't.
You really should. Like, you should for the sake of at least playing games with everybody else, just because it'll be fun. But, like...
No, old man got an old man.
But no, so like, and they said yes, actually. They said I could be next in the line. So I'm next in the Brantley family dynasty of PCs.
It will throw you some spare parts every once in a while.
Not even that. They'll just be like, here's the whole PC that we're moving away from.
Like,
Here you go. It's like, okay.
I'm over here, like... I was thinking about this while I was working the other day, because I was bored and I didn't have anything better to think about. I was like, are PCs just the I'm building a car in my garage now?
Except you can sort of, except like people, you can be like people that are really gearheads still exist. Like it's even in our generation, there's still a lot of gearheads over PC. It's just if you're a gamer, PC is just kind of where you end up focusing on, just because you can, and really at the end of the day, you do end up like in the long run, you do save money. Versus buying like every 10 years you buy a new like $600 console, right? In theory, like whenever the next generation console happens, right? Whereas with a PC, you spend maybe $1,000 building it the first time if you want like a decent running computer, and then after that, it's really just every now and then like, oh, maybe I want to get a new RAM, some new RAM, which really having 32 gigs of RAM should hold me for a while. But there is the option of 64. I could go that far if I really wanted to. And it'd only be $100 to do that, which isn't bad. Once again, I'm still paying less than if I got a new console. And then like maybe you change out your in like your graphics card, like so you change out like if it's an NVIDIA or AMD, you switch out that, right? Every once in a while. And honestly, you don't have to do it that often because gaming has kind of, and this is a conversation I was having with a few people. I've had this conversation with a few people now. I've had this conversation with Zach, who is apparently like hardcore, our #1 fan, by the way. So shout out to Zach, because he's like confirmed by Pixie. He watched like. We are his morning watch for this podcast.
Oh, thank God.
Like, so we are he gets up on a Saturday and he watches us.
That's really sweet, actually.
And so
I'm not gonna mock that at
no,
all.
that's actually really, I really appreciate that. And so, and Pixie confirmed, she's like, he gets up and he watches y'all.
I hope they've been getting my messages about the fucking tarot cards they've been finding.
Oh, they because we talked about that, because they were, Pixie was streaming a couple days ago, as of when we were recording, and so that's when I had these conversations. I was like typing in, so we talked about what I've been doing with the edits for them, and also like stuff like that. And they were like, "Yeah, we've been seeing like Seth's comments," and so like, and they like what I'm doing with the edits, which is good. Because I'm like,
they're very fun.
Well, because the thing I'm concerned about, and this is, you're gonna get inside my head here a little bit as an editor. When I'm doing my own edits, and we've had this conversation, I kind of care less. And that's not saying I'm putting no quality into that. Like I am.
You do.
I am putting effort and quality into everything we put on the channel. It's just most of the time I definitely try to do a one shot. Like, can I record this and have to not do any editing? If I have to go back and edit, I will. If I'm like, oh, I didn't like this joke, or oh, this might not be in good taste, or oh, this is a conversation that's not interesting, I will edit that out of a video. In fact, I did that for the Ravenloft video that came out this week. Came out today as of recording.
Yeah, I saw it in my recommends earlier, which I think happened because I finally got caught up with the acquisitions.
Which I think everybody's caught up on that. So everything that's happened in acquisitions so far is up and available to the public.
Did you know the statue's hands have been taken?
But yeah, but when I'm editing somebody else's videos, I look for feedback. Because I'm like, okay, you're giving me your baby, you're telling me to edit this. I'm gonna edit this, and I'm usually cutting out a bunch of stuff that's like more so than I would even on my end, because I'm like, oh, this is like this is nothing. Which with Pixie and Zach, there's actually not a lot that I cut out. There's like sometimes I'll do cuts more for gags than I do for like actually removing a conversation. Like I'll add something more than I do remove anything. I think the most recent example of actually removing anything that's noticeable, anyways, like a noticeable edit, is in the Witch's Doll Part 2, when I cut out them doing the light bulb puzzle.
Yeah.
Or the light switch puzzle, where they're like, oh, the power grid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, mild context, because I've only ever seen the, like, edited version, but I'm also aware I enjoy horror games. Those ones are always a bitch and a half.
I will say Witch's Doll is a slow burn. Like,
Yeah.
the part 1 ends with the first scare in that entire gameplay footage that they sent me. And that's with me cutting out maybe 20 minutes. Because they'll in game, like when they're recording, they'll even go like, "Hey CJ, edit this part out," like in game. So I'll just retroactively, from them telling me in the video, I'll edit that stuff out, and that's usually the main stuff that I'll edit out of a video. And then and sometimes it works flawlessly where you don't even notice. I'll let y'all in on one that like you probably don't notice. In part 1, when they're standing at the back of the car before they bring the stuff to go inside the apartments, that's an edit. There's a cut there. There's a cut there.
What?
Because they had to pause the game and do a bunch of So like
adjusting.
Yeah, they're adjusting stuff, and so like they told me in the recording, "Hey CJ, cut this," and so I managed to cut it to where you don't actually notice the cut because they don't move the character, and so I'm able to just go cut here, looks like no cut happened, which is very much the technique of like, that's almost the technique of like actual real life movies where they do the one shot trick where they hide the cuts by aiming really close at something so they can cut it there, start the new cut there, and then can like almost make, and then when they edit it, it looks like there was no cut because they put it on something that doesn't move, and therefore because it doesn't move and because you didn't really, you can't tell, yeah. And so that's the trick with that one. And so but no, the part 2 has a more obvious cut, and that's because of a joke. Because I was like, oh, I have to do that joke because Zach goes, "Hey CJ, solve the puzzle for us now, CJ." And then he just says something one more time, and I'm like, okay. And I was like, okay, I guess I should do it for the joke. So I just cut to the end where they've solved the puzzle. Rather than solving the puzzle for them, I just cut to when they solve the puzzle. Which I think works as a joke, because it's like, oh, that's an edit joke. I think edit jokes, I think when you are a Let's Player and you are actively calling out your editor a lot, which is a very common thing for a lot of, this is very inside baseball, I guess. This is a very inside baseball conversation for video making and YouTube as a whole, like YouTube culture. But like, I think you as an editor then have to lean into those jokes and have to like be willing to make cuts based on around those jokes.
As a viewer, I will say that it makes it very entertaining.
Because like on one hand, Pixie and Zach are entertaining on their own. You could listen to any conversation they got going on, and like they'll keep you entertained. But then every now and then they'll make a joke, and I'll be like, how can I spice that up just a smidge? Like anytime now that Zach makes a pro-American versus European joke, I'm going to put the American flag with the Star-Spangled Banner with eagles and gunfire going off. Anytime he does that now, because we've set that joke up with the It Takes Two video, and then I did it again with Witch's Doll, because I was like, well, I already have that footage, because like I can just pull it, because I keep the edits in my hard drive, so I'm just like, I can just take that section of the edit from It Takes Two and put it into Witch's Doll, and I don't have to do as much work. I can just take the thing that already exists that I've made and make the joke again, and that rewards you if you're a returning viewer, because you're like, I get that joke because I've watched you. And that's what the big stream, like the big YouTubers do. That's like the type of jokes that Markiplier would make. That's the type of joke that, a lot of these, like PewDiePie when he was, bigger, like these are the type of jokes that they would make. Like you make an ongoing joke that your audience who sticks around and has been there for a while will get, but also a joke that a new person can get still. That's like, oh, I don't get that it's a recurring joke, but I get it's a joke, and I think some of those jokes work on their own. And then of course there's even more obvious edit jokes like the Dune book and Witch's Doll. where Zach's like, oh, that's Dune, and then I put the Dune cover on top of the book they're looking at, and then add the chorus from the Dune movie for a snippet, or like other edit jokes of putting Zach or Pixie's face into something, which I think my favorite. I think I'm really proud of the "Who Killed Mr. Burns" joke at the beginning of Part 2 for Witch's Doll. I'm really proud about that. I wish I could have found a different clip. I couldn't find a clip that I imagined. I imagined a clip, and I was like, is this a clip in Simpsons? And it wasn't. And so I found the clip that does exist, and I was like, oh, I can make that work. And you just get an edit of my face on top of Mr. Byrne being dead. And because, like, once again, I leaned into a joke that they gave me, because Zach gave me the joke of, oh no, CJ got shot. And I was like, what if I did a Mr. Burns reference that, like, most people wouldn't get, but, like, if I show the clip, that helps with the context, and then we can name the episode Who Shot Mr. CJ as the joke, which I love that they keep the titles I give them. They don't have to do that. I think the only time they had to do that was for, like, the It Takes Two videos for a while when I was putting the title on the thumbnail, but I stopped doing that so that way they could name it whatever. But they keep the names I give them. Like, I'll email them one with, like, a name idea.
Yep.
And they keep that name. And so I'm like, oh, okay, you don't have to do that. But, yeah, they told me, like... So, like, going back to the main point, I'm, as a creator, I kind of get concerned of, like, oh, if I hear no notes, what's going on? Do they like it? Don't they like it? Like, if I hear no notes, then I'm thinking, are we good? And then I'll see, like, in the case of Pixie and Zach, I'll see the video uploaded, like, 3 days later, and I'm like, oh, okay, I guess they liked it. Or sometimes I will hear back, and they'll, like, message me, hey, we liked it, and I'll be like, oh, okay. But it's, like, it's a thing in the back of your head when you're working on somebody else's video as an editor. You do think about that, and you're like, they're not giving me notes. Did I give them what they wanted? Is this right? Especially when they give you as much freedom as Pixie and Zach give me. Like, they give me the video footage and then they just go edit. They don't go, hey, we want you to edit this, and that. Except for unless it's in the video. In the video, they'll tell me things. But that's usually, like, either technical stuff or they're having very private conversations that they're like, hey, we don't want this in the video.
Yeah.
That's usually the only times they tell me to cut something out actively. And so it's really weird not having somebody that's like, I want a specific vision, I want you to edit it this way, and it's like, not having that and having the freedom to almost be, like, it's almost like I am directing it with them, in a way. Because, like, I am making these final choices, and then they yay or nay them, and then sometimes they will, like, in the earlier days, they did give me feedback of, like, hey, can you add this joke here, can you add that, punch that joke a little bit more. But now it's a little bit more, and like Zach told me during that stream, he was like, yeah, we don't send you any notes because we like what you're doing, and Zach was like, honestly, each video has been better each time. And I was like, it's the imposter syndrome taking over, where it's like, I don't feel that way, but if you say so. But that's the creator, like, the creative imposter syndrome that a lot of creatives have, I think. It's, but it is nice hearing that, and
yeah.
So, like, but yeah, and so that's why I love our friendship with them and everybody else that we have in this community, like, with, like, Cal and everybody else, and Britt, and, like, I think we have some of the best community, like, people, like, members, best people to have a community with.
I'd love to go and play some more.
I know.
First Descendant.
They're getting busy too, because I think they're in the Well, one, Pixie has a new job.
Yeah.
Yay.
Woo!
But also I think her and Zach are figuring out a moving situation, so that's also, like, part of it. And so, yeah, and plus Zach's job too. Zach is, like, since he's gotten that new job, which I guess it's not a new job anymore, he's had for, like, a few months now, but, like, newish, right? I mean, since he got that job, he's also been just busy or tired. which is fair.
God, we're all fucking adults.
Yeah, we're old. But we still got time for games now and then. Speaking of, you've been playing some more Deus Ex. You've been,
Yes.
and so you were talking a little bit about that to me earlier. Did you want to share some of that?
Yeah, so, turns out that I kind of missed a little bit on my first playthrough. You know, it happens. And what I missed up on, because it's me, why would I not do it, is the, like, crime side missions.
Oh, yeah.
Which, technically, it's like a chain, but you have to come back.
It's one of those situations where you start it, and then as the story goes on, it like the
Adds
story
stuff.
influences and adds to the new stuff you can do.
Yep. So, I'll kind of start with that, because that one's gonna take a sec.
Yeah.
So, in the game, first time you're in Prague, they're like, hey, after your doctor wakes you up, and he's like, hey man, you got a bunch of random Augs in here? Or cybernetics, depending on how you want. Deus Ex just calls them Augs, so that's what I'll be referring to.
Yeah.
But
Augmentations.
augmentations.
Yeah.
Augs also refers to people who are augmented. That's like the...
The end game. Not
No,
really.
that's not the slur. Don't worry. The slurs are Hanser, which is from the first game, and I'm like, that's not that bad, actually. The ones that they use...
Get
they're-
worse.
The ones that get worse are Wrench, which is like, ow.
Yeah.
Uh,
That basically just designates you to being like a tool.
And Clank. Clank is very funny.
It's even funnier as a Star Wars fan, considering that how people have kind of taken, like, because of Clone Wars, they kind of used Clanker as the
Yeah.
slur for droids.
I'm
Oh!
like, oh, don't worry.
Anyways, yeah, because like being a Og, like humanity as an Og is kind of like a major theme throughout all of the Deus Ex games.
Yeah. The other thing is that, like, the nice word for regular people is naturals, which has some connotation.
Yeah, it's got connotations there. Yeah.
The ones that, like, you can use if you're not feeling so friendly is fleshies. So don't worry, it's just a grand old time.
Where
for
everybody
our
hates
boy-
everybody.
For our boy Adam Jensen, who is, like, constantly dealing with everyone else's fucking problems.
But also,
But that's kind of how video games work.
yeah, you kind of like, if
Yeah.
you don't do things, why game?
Yeah. And I was thinking about this earlier. I was like, God damn, Adam cannot fucking catch a break. Because the first game that he starts in starts with him fighting off people trying to save his ex-girlfriend who they work in the same building. That's why.
Yeah.
Because he's head of security and that's his job.
Yeah, the first game is essentially Die Hard, but
That's the start of the first
yeah,
game. That's
like the start of the first game,
prologue.
like it's basically Die Hard, but with future tech.
I will say this, it's great, because even in the second game where David Seraph, your former boss, who is no longer your boss, it's good to know that he actually gives a shit about his employees, which is nice.
Yeah.
Back to this game. So I went, after my doctor found, oh shit, you got a bunch of experimental Augs that I didn't fucking think you had. Whoops, I almost killed you, sorry about that. Don't worry. His name is Kohler, he's actually not a bad guy. Unfortunately, he is involved with the Diwalis, the crime family that is in Prague. So you go in there, and after you get some things sorted, you basically just have a conversation with Otar. If you want to do things like without going in either beating the shit out of and or killing a lot of criminals.
Hmm.
I prefer not to do that, mostly because I prefer discretion and diplomacy.
Yeah.
Also helps that the game rewards you for doing that.
It does. Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm like, alright, here's the deal. I will help you if you help me. And he goes, okay, cool. Basically, just use straight talk with Otar all the way. Don't lie, don't try to be discreet. I did that the first time and I had to go and punch a lot of people.
Yeah.
So this time he's like, oh, it's just up on my desk in my office. You can just go and take it. I'm like, alright, cool. So I go and I do that. And then I go and I complete the rest of the game until I get sent to the Udalek complex, better known as Golem City. You can guess what happens in Golem City.
Gonna guess there's golems.
No, it's where Augs go.
Well, yeah, yeah. I mean, but
But Golem City is like the colloquialism for it. Its actual name is the Udalek complex.
yeah.
I got sent there because we're kind of investigating like this train station bombing. And it's suspected that ARC, the Augmented Rights Coalition, had something to do with it. And I'm like, okay, so my job is essentially go in and get their leader to come in. Very specifically, not kill him. Because everyone's kind of like, we all know that that's a bad idea. We need, if we want things to calm down, we can't have the leader of the most peaceful movement dead. And so I go in, and I focus on that later. But while I'm in there, Odar, the like second in command of the Diwalis, who's making power plays, calls me up and is like, hey, there's a guy in there named Galois. I need him dead so that I can have a better chance of dealing with stuff over here. And I decided to go and handle business. So I go and I ask him, like, alright, what's the deal with you? And he's like, oh, I do stuff for Radish, the current like head of the Diwalis.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Seth from the future has knowledge about Radish, and that he's a son of a bitch, and is going to kill a lot of people in the future. So I don't feel too bad about what this is going to go down. So I'm like, hey Galois, here's the deal. Why does Otar want you dead? And he's like, oh, because I'm a son of a bitch. And I'm like, alright, neat. Thanks for letting me buy stuff from you, because he's a merchant in this area. And I go and I look at the two guards, and I'm thinking, because I'm me, I'm like, well, the two guards don't really have to die. So I'll just knock them out and then take out Galois. So
Makes
that's what I
sense.
do,
Yeah.
because I'm like, it's a 9 to 5, I get it.
Working 9 to 5.
Galois is pretty dead, though.
Yeah.
And so I go, main story progresses, and then I come back to Prague, because this is fun. And Otar calls me over the phone again, and he's like, hey, I need you to go help me with something. And I'm like, what now? And he's like, I need you to go and talk to the matron of the Red Queen. And I'm not gonna be subtle about what the Red Queen is. It's a whorehouse.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And so I go and I talk to her. I'm like, alright, what is it that you... And so he's like, oh, go talk to her about a guy named Dominique. And I'm like, or Dominic.
Yeah.
Dominic, I think.
Yeah, Dominic, yeah.
And so I go and I'm like, alright, so what's the deal with Dominic? And she's like, oh, Dominic is my son, but I need you to kidnap him. keep in mind, I should clarify, Dominic is not a child. Dominic is a grown adult.
Yeah.
It is weird, however, that his own mom is like, I need you to kidnap him. But, essentially, Dominic wants to be more involved with Raditch and, like, sit at the crime family, and she's like, I need you to kidnap him so that I can marry him off. And I'm like, okay. And she's like, I also need you to be undetectable and not raise any alarms while you're there. And I'm like, alright. She's like, also, he's an idiot. And she... and for what I saw, she's not wrong.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, cool. So I go... So, and she's like, I need him alive, obviously, because I'm like,
Well, yeah.
yeah. And she's like, I tried talking to him normally, and that didn't work. I was like, alright, I guess we'll do it this way then. Because I guess I still owe Otar. And he needs to be in good with you, so that he can make plays against Raditch, who is also not a good person. So I'm like, I'm fine with this. So I go in, sneak around the back to where, like, Dominic's apartment is, and I have to go in. Dude, there were so many people that had to be knocked out. Eventually, I found, like, how to shut off all the cameras and alarms and everything, and that took me a minute. Because I'm in New Game Plus, there are no objective markers, which means I have to look at the map, because the objective marker will still appear on the map, but it won't in, like, the overworld, is that what it's called? No, like regular gameplay.
Yeah.
So I have to know where everything is in relation to my position on the map. And it took me a while, because the final objective for that is go and put Dominic's body in a storage locker. But there are like 4 storage lockers around that area.
Fun.
This happened at a certain point when I was like, oh, when I finally realized where I needed to take him, right? I had to drag his body up a flight of stairs. And because of how the game works, you have to let go of body and open a door. Because it's one of those games where it's still old. It's like, you can't do 2 things at the same time. Unfortunately, this caused me to fail the mission because his body fell down the stairs. And I was like, okay, well, in order for this mission to actually be completed, I have to have that not happen. So fortunately I had like an autosave earlier, so I could just go to that. And then I dragged his body all the way up the stairs again, out of the 2nd story window, put him on a little elevator thing, drag him off of that, and put him in the fucking locker. And then I closed it and I left the crime territory. And she's like, hey, thanks. I'm like, oh, the best bit is, before you do that, Odor's mom, Madame Cadlick, is like, don't you know, pre-bride kidnappings are a tradition here. And I'm like, and she goes, I think it's time for some equality.
No.
I'm like, that's not why I'm doing this. I don't really care. But I didn't kill anyone in there.
Well, there's something, I guess.
Yeah. They didn't fucking make it easy. But everyone should be alive, and hopefully things will work out for that guy.
Well, Guess you'll find out.
Guess I'll find out. Because last time I went to the Diwali place for the final mission. Hopefully Dominique will not be there like it was last time. Because it wasn't good.
Yeah.
But because I'm doing all of the side shit for OTAR, hopefully things will change so that I don't have to go in there guns blazing.
Hopefully.
Hopefully.
Hopefully, yeah.
Because I prefer to do things non-lethally. Ignored my first encounter and last one with Marchenko, the game's big bad. Because that guy didn't give me any options.
Yeah. Well then, with that, I guess that's what we've been up
Yeah,
to.
we've been talking for...
About 40 minutes.
Yeah. I could go and talk another 20 minutes about Deus Ex, but I'll save that for next week.
Let's go ahead and, yeah, because we got 3 comics to talk about this week. So let's get into today's main topic of the High Republic Adventures Dispatches from the Occlusion Zone, A New Legacy, and Ewoks. We'll go chronologically, so we'll start with the High Republic Adventures. I really like this. It was good insight into what's been going on. I mean, we've known for the most part what's going on, but it's also advancing a lot of plots. 'Cause like basically they get the brilliant idea of, hey, let's just send out a bunch of the EX droids because we know that they can get past the wall, right? And because they use different older technology that the wall doesn't catch. Yep. And so Elzar sends them out with like a message of, hey, just report back to us what's going on and send them back to us.
Yep. And
so a bunch of them get out there, mostly sticking with a lot of what's going on with Irem and Tarkin Homeworld. Ariadu, thank you. And
a little bit of business with Crash's crew.
Yeah, so not quite Corellia stuff, but near adjacent. I think they're at Irem, or near there. And we also get a follow up on what's going on with Ty York and crew.
Yep. We get to see Emmerich.
Yep. So the first, we'll kind of bounce around with the main stories because they all kind of feed each other. Because that's the interesting part, is that they each can be read individually, but they do feed into a larger narrative of like what's going on with these messages. We also have some people that switch sides that I was not expecting.
Yeah.
Although I guess it made sense. Out of everybody that we've been introduced to on the Nihil side, they're the one that makes the most sense to change, I think. Mm-hmm. They had the most opportunity for growth, I think. Yeah. So first off, we get a follow-up with what's going on in Ariadu.
Yep.
With from the perspective of, I just had a brain fart. Farzala, yeah. Who's like, oh, well, Master Emmerich's not here, so I'll tell you what's been going on. And so, basically, we learn that they tricked Tarkin and the Tarkin family, essentially, into giving them information, kind of, sort of. Because they were like, hey, we're cool with, like, the new lead Tarkin's cousin, but the one that we were cool with, she's kind of gone radio silent with us and hasn't told us anything.
We don't know why.
And we're kind of worried because a war is absolutely gonna happen.
Mm-hmm. So we're working on that.
Because like tensions between the Nihil and the population of Ariadu are at an all-time high. To the point of, if nothing happens,
everything's gonna
go off. And so they're like, well, she keeps disappearing. Like,
we don't know how.
The cousin's like, I don't know what's going on, because, like, we don't really have a tunnel system or anything. And, in fact, going underground would be bad because of the legends of, like, how we took over this planet. You know, there was giant flame-breathing monsters and so we had to build the city over them. And the Jedi are like, that's dumb, and they're like,
shut the fuck up.
She's
You
like,
did
I.
the same shit
she's like,
over your goddamn basement.
She's like, look, no, I also think it's dumb, but that's what they teach us in school, okay? And so we learn what's really down there.
which is a lot better than the evil basement.
Although it's not far off on the whole flame thing, because
yeah, it's not that far off.
and so yeah, so
in order to find this information out,
they basically dog nap.
they dog nap the current Tarkin heads.
New pet, air quotes,
emphasis
because
on air quotes around pet.
Because it also is probably sentient, based on what we learned the last time.
Yeah.
Because that was the creature that they're like, oh, we're no longer hunting them.
I'm
Because
trying to remember what they're called, but I fucking can't.
let's see, I got the comic. I can pull it up. But yeah, in the meantime, so yeah, they basically kidnap it and are like, it can smell her because it somehow always knows where she is, so we're just gonna, use that to our advantage. Correction, I deleted it from my phone.
Oh, well, damn.
That's okay. And so they use its sense, its sense of smell to track them down. Unfortunately, the Nihil were following them.
Yep.
Because the Nihil are like, well, we don't know where she is either, so we're just gonna follow you guys. And then they get into a little bit of a scrap, and AG is probably my favorite.
The new droid?
Yeah, the new droid might be one of my favorites,
Yeah.
because he's like really scrappy, and they're like, yeah, we're gonna tie you guys up and leave you here. AG, you're in charge of watching. Don't push them in the lava. And AG's like, oh man, because they find underground is this whole lava pool, right? Yeah. And so they the creature's a Vermok.
A Vermok, right.
Yeah. And so
Belinta.
Belinta,
that's what
yep.
its name is.
Yeah, Belinta.
I can remember its name, not the species.
Yeah, the Vermok. So yeah, but yeah, the Vermok leads them to this underground lava pool that's underneath. So once again, not entirely off of flames being beneath the city.
Yeah.
It just turns out no, the Tarkins of the past were really brilliant enough to be like, we're just gonna use all this lava to fuel our cities.
Yep.
Which is actually not a bad idea. Unfortunately, when you start getting attacked and bombed, then things go bad, because then it knocks all the equipment over to where it's not effective, and in fact it's problematic.
Yeah, they're like, hey, go and inform the Republic that if they do come here to fight,
we could have some problems. Yeah,
explosives,
we could have some problems.
We'll have problems.
Yeah, so Severin, the leader of the Tarkin family at this time, is like, that's why I haven't been talking to you guys. I've been trying to solve this problem, and I'm working on fixing this, because right now it's working again. But the slightest budge, another bomb, if war happens on Iriadu,
no good.
No good. We're talking this thing's gonna blow up half of the planet. Bad. Which, funny enough, we later see a example of the occurrences of this war, the Nihil Republic War, and what it's done to planets, because we go back to Donna later in this series. Which kind of looks now a bit like Planet X in atmosphere tone.
A little bit, yeah.
That, or it's just the art style that they went with.
Yeah.
Which I did like the art style for for issue 4. But yeah, and so that's issue 1, is he then, sends he's about to he finishes creating the message, and he's about to send it when Emmerich shows up, and he's like, oh good, you're here just in time, which means you can send a message as well.
Yep.
Unfortunately, there's another one that landed here on Iriadu, but we think the Nihil already got it.
Yep.
And that's where the next issue goes.
And the next issue is Crash and Rue
trying to get it.
Trying to get it.
That's right, they're in Ariadu as well, lately. because that's where the warden, who's in charge of the Nihil forces there.
And I'm trying to remember what the...
Drigget.
Drigget.
Yeah, Drigget's the one who finds it. And so, Drigget's somebody that, we've been calling for a long time that she's gonna be a good guy by the end of things.
Because of the reason why she's with the Nihil to begin with.
Yeah, she's not there because of any anger with the Jedi or anything like that.
Yeah.
It's strictly I'm trying to save my world. I'm trying to save Valo. I'm trying to save the Outer Rim. Because if I don't, who will?
Yep.
And so she's really been a spy this whole time. Because, she's been giving information to Severin as well. Because she's friends with Severin. Because, in the short stories that this comic actually ties to. Because this comic actually referenced that short story. And we get actually a visual flashback of that fight.
Yeah.
Also, Ruin the Mask is terrifying.
Rue's a scary fucking motherfucker.
Once we've seen them because we get to see them in the mask as they're Terminator 2 going after Drigget.
She fucking is hiding underneath the car basically.
She pulls an alien. She's
blows him up.
Yeah, no, she pulls an alien and she goes into she goes inside the crawl space and she's like, did I get away from him? Lightsaber.
Oh shit.
It's Jedi Fallen Order, the Vader scene where you're like, I gotta run, and you're like, oh, did I make it? And then Vader lightsaber comes through the hole in the wall, and you're like, ah! But back to the plot of that issue. So Drigget has it, and so the warden's like, hey, give it to one of my guys. He'll hack this thing because they have to hack it because it's got 2 passwords essentially. It's got a Republic and a Jedi password, and she's like, no, it's Finders Keepers.
I found it. I'll deal with it.
Yeah, it's mine, my prize. And the warden's like, okay, but you better solve it by the time I get back.
Yep.
Otherwise, my buddy here. Well, you're my lieutenant. You know what's gonna happen if you don't get things done.
Yep.
And so, she does open it eventually. She just, let it go. Which I'm kind of worried about what happens now because she didn't keep it.
Yep.
But also, the warden's probably got bigger problems because Rue and Crash broke in and basically 2-man raided this place.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, because Crash and Rue figure out about it, and they're like, okay, we need to go, or the Crash and crew, really, find out about it, and Rue's like, alright, I'll go do it. I can go undercover, I still got a mask. And Crash is like,
you sure you want to do that, man? You got a little...
You good? Because every time we let you do these type of missions, you deal with the dark side a bit, essentially.
You're a little crazy. And he's like, well do
who
we
else
have a
will?
choice?
Yeah. And also, Crash is like, fine, but I'm going with you. And Rue's like, you know what, I appreciate that, because then, I need somebody to pull me back if I go too far.
And they try to do the prisoner trick. Doesn't work this time.
Yeah, because Rue's like, where's the warden? And they're like, well, if you were really assigned here, you would have known why the warden's gone.
Get him!
Because they almost get caught originally because they're like, I don't know you, you're not on the schedule, essentially.
Pretty
and it's
much.
and they're like, do you know everybody who gets assigned here? And they're like, actually, yeah, okay, you got me there. And then when they ask about the warden, that's when they get busted.
Yep.
And so, thankfully though, they already had the easy break handcuffs, and so Crash just goes, and shootout happens, and Rue finds Drigget.
And then the fucking Terminator
scene, yeah,
Terminator Rue.
God, Rue is terrifying. Don't fuck with Rue.
Do not.
This is the one when he's just standing there menacingly. Oh yeah, there's the lightsaber through wall. Hold on, for the audience, I'll show the menacingly standing one.
There you go.
There we go. Such a good piece of art, by the way. I almost want to make that my phone wallpaper, because that's a good wallpaper.
For context, that is after after Drigget has exploded him.
Yeah, because like Rue tracks down the signal, only to find like, oh, they're already gone, and like finding the tools of somebody trying to hack it, and Rue's like, well, I gotta find whoever did this. Drigget, meanwhile, placed explosives right there. Boom.
Keep in mind, I don't think Rue is wearing armor of any sort.
No, all they've got is the only thing is the Nihil mask. That's the furthest armor they've got.
Which means they just tanked the explosion.
Yeah, no, because Rue's a badass. They got like a leather jacket, and that's it. Like, and a really cool, honestly, Rue's got style. The scarf and the leather jacket, and then the Nihil mask. Honestly, like, Rue's got style.
But eventually, it's like, all right.
Eventually, they catch up to each other, and Rue, as Rue often does in these situations, catches themselves, and are like, "Oh, I might be going too far. Hold on."
I might need to tone it down a little.
And honestly, like Rue's like consistently going, "I'm not trying to hurt you." Like, they are saying that the whole time, even though they are walking menacingly. But when you're walking menacingly, it doesn't help.
Yeah.
And so like, eventually, like Drigget explains like, "Hey, no, I need this. I need to save my people." And Rue's like, "Wait, aren't you the bad guy?" And Drigget's like, "No."
Which is like, says the crazy man who's cut down in fucking...
Yeah. Eventually, though, they do have a little heart-to-heart, and they're like, you know what? Actually, I can see both sides. Like, they almost have a I can see both sides conversation, but I think most of that's off-screen.
Mm-hmm.
But, so Rue is kind enough to introduce themselves properly.
Yeah.
Drigget does so as well in response, and they record a message because Drigget's like, "I found out very important information that the Warden's basically trying to unite all of the Nihil out here in the Occlusion Zone, which would be bad." Because right now it's very much warlords here and there.
Yeah.
Like, it's very warlordy when it comes to how the Nihil, because the Nihil love their chaos. There is they're not a... Which is the problem that Marchion's having to deal with. Like, Marchion loves the chaos, but also, you have now created a government. How can you be an anarchistic government?
You can't. The Warden, however, is like, nah, man, I want it all.
Yeah, like the Warden doesn't see the problem with that, like, hypocrisy within the Nihil. It's like, nah, we can be anarchists while also having, like, some form of, like, organization. And so... The Warden does not see that problem, whereas Marchion is dealing with that, where Marchion's like, that's a problem. How I can't do both, and it makes me unhappy. I can't do both. It'd be like if the Joker ran for president in in a DC comic, which hasn't happened because the Joker
wouldn't do that.
Although Joker has been a diplomat for our country before, because that's kind of the whole premise of the death in the family storyline. It's why he gets away with killing Jason. Diplomatic immunity. They couldn't lethal weapon. It's been revoked on him, but
I think one of... Slight side tangent.
Yeah.
I think one of my favorite fucking, like, little things I've ever seen in, like, on, like, either TikTok or YouTube Shorts is where, like, Batman goes, "Okay, here he is. Kill him. Watch what happens." Because he keeps fucking coming back. And the joke is, he's like a cryptid man. There's a reason why I keep putting him in Arkham, because every time he dies, he just comes back.
Yeah. But yeah, that's essentially an issue too, is because then they hand it off, because then Drigget hands it off to them to Crash and Rue to take to the Republic. So they start to send it off, and then Emmerich, meanwhile, is preparing to get some information on the Nameless, by going to what he believes is where the Nameless are coming from, which we do learn is a place that they're being studied from, and that they kind of were taken, like, after the after the whole Dalna affair, they were studied at because originally he is calling for a smuggler to take him.
Yep.
Turns out, nah, Niv Drendau found out about that message because you were talking on open comms, Emmerich.
Yep.
And so Niv is like, so I captured him, and like Emmerich is leaving a voicemail on his EX droid at the time, and then Niv's like takes over it and is like, "Hello, Republic.
I've captured a Jedi.
One of your favorites, Emmerich. And now he's going to give me information before I kill him."
I'm imagining that's actually about the same.
That's about the tone I am at, like, because Niv's like a young adult, like probably like in their early 20s is the vibe I get at most early 20s, because I imagine they're not much older than say Drigget.
Mm-hmm.
And Drigget's like probably 16, 18 at this point. 16 probably. 15, 14, 15, like around that area. Older teen, right? And so Niv Drendau's like, alright, I'm taking Emmerich to this planet where we're gonna study this, because I already know the planet that we're going to, because I've been there. I was basically raised there.
Yep.
Because that's where Baron Bulin thought it was a good idea to raise a child. Then again, Baron Bulin...
Master of great ideas.
Yeah. Then again, Baron Bulin didn't care if I went crazy in the process of it, because that's kind of the point of Baron Bulin.
Yep.
He loves making people go crazy.
Because he's perfectly sane himself.
And so, yeah, so, like, I'm trying to unlock Baron Bulin's notes because he wrote in, like ciphers. And Emmerich's like, oh, I've kind of solved half of the ciphers, but we have, like, some Jedi. We now have more information thanks to some other crazy person's notes, Aslan Rail.
If we combine this person's
crazy notes with that person's crazy notes, it will make sense.
Pretty much.
And Niv Drendau's like, I've heard about these notes, and I kind of wanted them myself, and now you've brought them to me? Thanks, idiot.
Yeah.
That's, like, Niv thinks Emmerich's an idiot, this whole comic, and it's very funny how it ends. Like, because then the Charhounds show up, because it turns out Charhounds are from this planet.
Yep.
Yay, Charhounds.
They're native. Who knew?
Yeah, they're native to this planet. Yay, Charhounds. We got to see a bunch of them. Also, I think we hear a mention that in the first issue that about the times that Ember's gone missing. Mm-hmm. And they're like, hey, don't talk about that. We don't talk about the times Ember goes missing. But no, so they get chased by the Charhounds into the cave, and they're like, well, thankfully this is where we need to be. And Emmerich's like, don't worry, you take notes, I'll hold them off. Emmerich then does nothing that whole time. Yep. While they're arguing semantics and, like, you know, talking about, like, their ideologies and how you're not so different, you and I. It's the supervillain and superhero. You're not so we're not so different.
Yeah. It is.
And so...
And it was like, hey man, you gotta do anything about them? And he's like, yeah, I'm gonna give them a treat.
And head pats.
Love these things.
Yeah, because they're actually... You didn't study them well enough. Because like, Niv's like, yeah, I've studied these things, so I know how dangerous they are. And Emmerich's like, well, you didn't pay enough attention. You just give them treats and head pats, and they're happy.
Yeah. As territorial as they are, they really fucking like treats.
Yeah. You just give them their favorite treat, and you call it a day. Easy.
So they spend, I assume, the next... It's
probably like a few hours.
Yeah, like a few hours.
Like because we get an off screen they're negotiating a plan, because they're like, when they get back, Niv Drendau turns on the Nihil with Emmerich, and they're like, all right, time to get out of here and send the message that we made for the Ex droid, sending also the data that we've studied to the Republican Jedi, because here's the combined notes of Aslan and Baron Bulin, and also Niv Drendau's basically he made a deal.
Yeah. And the deal is, I'm cool with going to prison, but I want those research notes.
And also some time, like some of my sentence shaved off.
Yeah.
And Emmerich's like, maybe we can get some of that shaving on the sentence, but
we'll give you the research notes when we're done.
Yeah, we'll actually that I can guarantee you, because like Niv eventually is just kind of like, I just want to learn about these creatures, because that's all that's important to me, is that I do care about these creatures, and that's something Emmerich actually kind of admires in Niv.
Yeah.
Emmerich's like, these creatures are very destructive, but you care for them still.
Yeah.
And you know what? As a Jedi, I can admire that.
Also, your Jedi friend killed my dog, basically.
Yeah.
They were a nameless, and they would have died if they didn't, but still.
Yeah. And so, like, Emmerich can respect that, because Emmerich is also like, as a Jedi, we kind of are supposed to be empathetic, like, we're supposed to be empathic with nature. And so, having somebody in the Nihil kind of be that for what seems like a monster creature is an interesting concept.
It's like, alright, so that's the deal we'll make.
Yeah. And so, they send that off, and eventually, they, get to where the that's the one, the EX droid that hits a ship, because I assume it's that one that ends up hitting the ship in issue 4, because there's a Nihil ship that gets hit and is crash lands on Dalna.
Also, I don't know where Emmerich's not girlfriend is.
I think on Iriadu last we saw her.
Yeah, that's last we saw her. I don't know what she's doing there.
Probably spying.
Probably.
Because she's like part of the Republic, like whatever the Republic intelligence is called. I forget what it's called.
Yeah.
Thanks, Star Wars. Thanks Wikipedia. That really helped me. Maybe there's not a name for it in new canon. Yeah, I know in like Legends there was a name for it, because Theron is part of it in the Old Republic MMO. Well, he was a part of it, and he becomes part of your party, and then I think he is still technically part of it, but yeah. The SIS, Republic SIS, Strategic Information Service. Yeah. I don't know if that's the canon name still, but yeah.
That's probably what she's doing.
But yeah, issue 4 though, we get to Ty, Yorick, and her crew, and they go to investigate Donna because
Elzar asked them.
Elzar was like, "Hey, can you look into like any clues about the Nameless that might be there and stuff like that?" And in the process, they find a crashed Nihil ship. And so they initially are like, nothing here, let's go. And then Ty's like, actually, no, we should probably look into this because I'm sensing some life. I think there's some life around here. Can you do a life scan? And they scan and they're like, yeah, there's some life in the ground beneath us. We should probably check that out.
Yeah. All right.
And so they look into it and find fighting going on between our favorite ex-Nihil, Lorna D.
Lorna D. And Lorna D is
and
down
Tay
there
Sarek.
fighting alongside Tay Sarek, and they are fighting.
Also, Lorna D's girlfriend is there too, but passed out already.
Yeah.
From the fight. They're fighting against like this older, one of the other Force religion, the one that are like plant, that can do like
Are they called Lantu?
Lantu, yeah, the plant mages, yeah. And so, because there's just a big misunderstanding where they think, oh, Lorna D's still part of the Nihil, and in fact, Tay Sarek, or Ty York and her crew almost fall for that same mistake. Until the plant mage starts choking everybody out.
Fuck it. Doesn't matter. Get choked
including
out.
their own side.
Yeah.
And then Ty York breaks free of it and scares the kid. the plant mage, and they're like, look, chill. I give up.
And she's like,
She's like, I'm not gonna hurt you.
I'm not gonna hurt you. Damn.
I just wanted you to stop.
It's easy to hurt people when you're scared, and
Yeah. Also, Tayseric's hand is his gauntlet's
gone.
broken. It's finally gone. The evil gauntlet, which is both good and bad.
yeah.
It's good because it had dark side magics attached to it. Bad because it was the only way Tayseric was really connected to the Force and kind of doing his thing and being useful in his grandpa years.
Yeah.
You
gotta get out of the field, Tay.
But this is also a continuation of the Tempest Breaker stuff, because this is Lorna D doing her new, helping the galaxy thing with her crew, with her girlfriend. And so then they eventually reunite with Elzar, where they, bring the girl there, and it turns out, they were separated by the Nihil from her family, and...
So we're gonna go send her to her dad.
Yeah, because we've got him. We know how to contact him, and so it's a good thing you did that. Also, all the other survivors. Meanwhile, Lorna D's gonna go off and do her thing with Tay and her girlfriend still. But I need you to stick around and help me with our new task force that's being led by Kiev and Skier, and that's basically our cliffhanger for the next arc in the comics, essentially, where Kiva's getting serious, because Kiva's not messing around.
Kiva's over here, playtime's fucking over.
Because normally we've had a little bit of lighthearted Kiv, but lately Kiv has been going, I think we're gonna get the Lost Jedi Kiv, or Lost Jedi Trennis, I guess, because Cavan Scott still hasn't confirmed, but it's seeming more and more likely. But yeah, that's Tales from the Occlusion Zone, or Dispatches from the Occlusion Zone, I should say.
Yep.
I like it. It does what it needs to. It's fun little short stories that give us a little more insight of what's going on in the wider narrative, but it doesn't overstay its welcome either. It's very much, here's the stories, wham bam bam. All right, there you go. And also, is feeding us important information that's okay, you're pushing the narrative forward. So I give it a good, strong 8 out of 10.
Yeah, I'm about the same with this one.
A New Legacy.
A New Legacy.
One shot.
Also known as, I was confused by this because it took me a second to realize when it occurred.
Yeah.
Because I have seen where a lot of these characters' stories are...
Later on. First issue... Or the first part of it, because it's a single issue. They're 3 short stories. They're kind of like the Revelations comics, which was what I was thinking they'd be more like, where they're giving us information of stuff to come. But it was just no, we're just going to highlight some fan favorite characters and some stories involving them. Mm-hmm. And so we get we got one that was the first one is called the Grand Imperial Jubilee, which takes place 2 years before A New Hope, so 2BBY. And it's basically a little art gala that's celebrating Palpatine's anniversary as being Supreme Chancellor, now Emperor.
Yep. For 30 years.
30 years he's been Supreme Chancellor. Well, this is when he was elected Supreme Chancellor, and then now he's not Supreme Chancellor, he's the Emperor, but still a holiday.
Yep.
And so they have this little gala essentially set up, and Tarkin personally is going to be there.
Yep.
And we get a lot of cameos from a lot of characters in this, but our main leads are Afra, Sana.
As soon as I saw Afra and Sana, I was like, oh fuck.
Yeah, it was Afra, Sana.
They're going to a party with rich people. Well, this isn't gonna work out.
Yeah, and then we get Valence also as one of our point of view characters, and Rick Duel. I'm trying to remember where we've seen. That's right, he's in Revelations. He's the guy that sucked his was so bad, but still kind of worked his way up within the Hutt ranks. the guy that just kept failing upwards.
Yep.
But this is before he did that.
Yep. The other...
He's also a Legends character that was brought to canon by that comic, by the way. So that's actually... And he was also kind of a enemy of Han in that. So that's kind of interesting. That's information I did not know about Rick the last time we saw him. New information for me to bring to you guys. So Baylor and Rick working together is actually very interesting because both are Legends characters that were brought into canon and kind of recontextualized, but also still kind of enemies of Han.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, here they're bounty hunters working together, and they're here to get Afra, who is here with Sana to steal a statue, an art piece from the gala. But Afra's like, but we could also steal some other things on the side. And Sana's like, we're already working to steal this. We don't need to.
Also, I don't know if this was intentional or not, but later on, like in the comic, when they're like debating about stealing something, I think there might be Domina Tag in the background.
There probably is, because they mention like a who's who of everybody is here essentially. Because like we see the Hutts are there, we see some of the other gang like crime lords that we've seen throughout the Star Wars comics are there because they mention them by name. And it's like, oh, okay, so they're really tying everybody into this. The only people not there are Palpatine and Vader.
I assume they were busy that day.
Yeah, they were busy that day. And even Lord Momin shows up.
Yep.
Because his mask is in the back in the collection, because this is like the Palpatine collection. And so they're like, yeah, this is all part of his personal collection. And that ties into the Lando comic, because we see how that collection later on gets transported to some other places. And also the Lord Momin mask gets used again in that comic, which you haven't read yet, but yeah, more Lord Momin taking over people's bodies and possessing people.
The great conversation between these two stormtroopers.
Oh yeah, with Terex, which is a tie into the Poe Dameron comics, because he's the main villain in those comics. God, he's like, I just want to do my job, and the other guy's like, but all this cool shit back here. It's literally every employee, like that is so like regular employee conversation, like between two people working a shift together, where they're like, I just want to let's look at the cool shit in the back, and the other guy's like, I'm just trying to get through my shift.
Fucking Bill over here.
Yeah, Bill's like, I want to see the cool shit. Terex is like, I'm trying to work my way up and have a career. I don't need to get caught doing something stupid. You have fun.
He's like, do you think they got any whiskey back here? And it's like, it's a fucking art exhibit.
The whiskey's gonna be up front. And we can't have it.
Pretty much.
Meanwhile, Bill then gets possessed by the Lord Momin mask because he looks at it for too long, and the powers of Lord Momin go, you must put me on.
He's like, all right.
Ah, yes. Culture. I'm at an art gala. Perfect. But what's with these rags? As he looks down at the stormtrooper armor. I need to look beautiful, and so he puts on a cloth, an imperial cloth, and just wraps it around him Roman-like style. And so he then walks out and starts admiring the art, and then he's like, wait a minute, that's my art piece.
Meanwhile,
which is the biggest piece in the whole room. Which, hey, by the way, plot twist is what Afra and Sana were sent to steal. Which means their plan of, hey, let's put the little hologram here to trick people into thinking that it's still here. When that hologram is the size of my cup here.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the actual thing is probably double the size of this room.
Meanwhile, so Afra and Sana are discussing that, and they're like, Sana's chewing out Afra. She's like, so you mean to tell me you
didn't ask what the size of the thing we're stealing is?
Pretty much.
And then meanwhile, Baylor and Rick are standing by the door waiting, because their plan is basically
basically like, we'll just get them on the way out.
Yeah, when Afra's running out, then we'll grab her. So they're just waiting by the exit, and then Lord Momin over here is looking at his own exhibit and sees unknown artist. He's like, you motherfuckers. I'm the artist. What do you mean you don't know? He has an existential crisis.
Yeah.
He starts to have a...
Oh.
Lord Moman crashes out.
Yes, he does.
He has the biggest crash out. And it's at the time that Tarkin has arrived.
Yeah.
Along with another cameo, by the way. What's her name? The villain that, for like the later Star Wars run. His little apprentice. Zara. Commander Zara is there too. And so another cameo, because like that's the only time we really see her and Tarkin together in anything. Despite them talking about in the Star Wars comic, yeah, it was Tarkin's like apprentice essentially, and it's like, then where were you and everything? Now we have something where, okay, yeah, they were that close.
Yeah. And they're like, so should we just...
And like while Moment's having his crash out and talking about, I'm gonna destroy you all for not knowing who I am. Tarkin's just standing there. Zara, deal with this. Like very calmly, like very Tarkin.
Just kill that guy.
And Zara's like, okay.
Yeah.
So, and actually she does. Because, to be fair, Lord Moment took over a stormtrooper's body. Not a lot he could do with that body.
Did kill quite a few people, though.
Yeah, because he did use the Force here and there. He threw some stuff, like threw some tables and stuff around and broke furniture.
Strongest connection.
And broke some furniture and art pieces and used them as weapons to kill people.
Yep.
Meanwhile, Afra and Son are like, screw this, we're just gonna go.
We're gonna leave.
Yeah, we're gonna count this as a loss.
Yep.
And so Baylor and Rick are like, where are you going?
Yeah, they sideswipe them.
And eventually they're like, yeah, but if we don't get out of here, then none of us are escaping. So we need to work together to get out, and then you can worry about capturing me. Which they agree.
They're like, all right, fine.
They're like, good point. Yeah, if we don't live, what's the point?
Yeah.
And so they all escape, and Zara kills Stormtrooper Bill. Stormtrooper Bill.
Bill possessed by Momin.
R.I.P. Bill.
Yep. The death of Bill featuring Momin. So they get out,
and then they're like, all right, a deal's a deal. Afra reaches out, and of course any of us could have seen this coming. She uses the electric stuff in her to shock and knock out Baylor, and Rick's like, dude, you killed him! And Afra's like, no, I just knocked him out. And that was only half my power, so actually, yeah, let him know that if I went full power, he could have died, so don't follow me.
Yeah.
And
Rick's
like,
basically like, hold on, I thought we had a deal. And Sana's like,
yeah, well, deal's changed.
Pretty much.
And so Rick's like, you know what, I can't do anything, it's 2v1.
He's like, I'm not that good. He's a man that knows his limits.
Let's be honest, we've seen what Rick can do. It's not much.
Not much. He didn't have any.
Barely can babysit a hut.
He didn't have any destiny points left, man.
And so he's like, you know what, we're gonna just call this a loss. And Afra and Sana make it away, and Afra's like, hey, I got this cool key to something on the way out. I don't know what it's to, but we can find out. Spoilers, it's where 000 is. Yeah, that ties into the Vader comics, the 2015 ones. So, now we know where she got that from. And we got a little bit of fun cameos galore in this. I actually liked it. It's a fun little short story. I like all of them, actually, in this. The next one is For the Love of the Empire, which is from the perspective of, what's the name of that squadron? But his name is Scar, is the leader of it. Or is it Scar Squadron?
I think it's Scar Squadron.
Yeah, Scar Squadron, which has the guy who's the stormtrooper that has a lightsaber. And so we get a little of their perspective on things. They're like, they were X5, like they were part of the 501st, and we see why they're the toughest. And they're like, we were respected as heroes at the start of the Empire, and then after the destruction of the Death Star at the hand of that Luke kid, that Skywalker kid, that that kind of changed when we got back to our home planet, where they kind of treated us as like fascist, which, spoiler, Scar Squadron, you are. You are, and in fact, your answer to that kind of
you doubled down.
You doubled down on it, yeah. Because like they like see kids that are like dressed up, like cosplaying as Luke, Leia, Han, and Chewie, and even the droids.
It's like, well,
time to kill them.
Yep. It's like, damn. We lost the battle in the hearts of the people. Oh well.
We'll make them scared of us instead. And so, yeah, Scar Squadron kind of doubles down on that. And now we see why like they're so like hardened like in the other Star Wars comics when we see them. I think you only really seen them once outside of this.
I've only seen them once.
Yeah, they were more big in the 2015 comics.
Yeah. The only thing I've seen of them is they're like, we fucking hate this C-3PO unit because he won't shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
And it doesn't know anything useful.
Speaking of droids, the final short story, which I think is the most funny, is The Rogue's Gambit, which takes place before the Vader Down story arc, which is in the 2015 run. Because it literally says, like, prior to issue 1 of that. And I'm like, oh, okay, so this is, like, right before everything. Because they even start talking about, hey, we're tracking down that Skywalker kid for Vader. And so he's going to need us as backup because, you know, a TIE fighter ain't going to be enough to put him in.
Yeah.
Because it's only got 1 seat.
Fold that Skywalker kid.
And we get the funniest dark version of a scene that we have in Star Wars, which is the Jarek scene from A New Hope. Because we get, like, the evil version of that scene with Black Chrysanthemum and BT-1 playing against each other instead of R2 and Chewbacca. And similarly, BT-1 is kicking Black Chrysanthemum's ass in it. Oh, no, it's the other way around. That's right. So they flip it. They flip it to where Black Chrysanthemum's winning. And then BT-1 starts cheating, and Black Chrysanthemum calls him out on it. And 000's like, he's got no arms for you to rip off, which is, you know, the joke from the original scene, which is that C-3PO's like, you shouldn't, you know, or Han's like, you shouldn't anger a Wookiee because they'll rip your arms out of your sockets. And, you know, and then C-3PO does the let the Wookiee win. But here it's let the droid win because VT is way more heavily armed than R2-D2 and Black Chrysanthemum. And so they start fighting each other and, like, almost blowing up the ship they're in. And then Vader comes in and is like, everybody's like, oh shit, the boss is here. And they, like, he scares them straight of like, hey, no nonsense, pay attention. And Afra's like, we're trying. And he's like, well, I need you to do more than that. We got a Skywalker to capture.
She's like, I hate it when he does that.
And he's like, you know what's gonna happen if you don't help me out. And they're like, yeah, we know, you're gonna kill us. Because that's what Vader does.
Yep.
And, you know, so we get a little bit more of that type of context of the Vader, Afra, Chrysanthemum, and 000 and BT-1 relationship. It's not adding anything really major, but it's just a fun little...
It's like you beat the shit out of him over a game of chess.
It's a fun little, you know, comic. And so, overall, I'd give it like a 7.5 overall. Like, it doesn't add anything to the bigger narratives. It's really just a love letter to all these characters that we've seen throughout the Star Wars comics. And that's probably why they did it this way rather than like a preview of what's coming forward. Because they were like, here's a love letter to all these awesome original characters we've brought, or even characters from Legends that we brought forward. Because like Afra's original, Baylord is not original, but he's a Legends character brought into canon. Same with Rick Duel. Moment is an original character. So this was just a highlight of original characters and Legends characters being brought into canon. And like through the comics. And so Black Chrysanthemum's an original character. And thanks to the comics is why he's in Book of Boba Fett, and we get that awesome Black Chrysanthemum in Book of Boba Fett moment. So like without these comics, we would not have some awesome moments even in live action. I would honestly love to see Dr. Aphra in live action. So, goals for future Star Wars? Give us live action Afra. You've given us live action Black Chrysanthemum. That you've shown that there isn't a line there. You can bring her over. I don't know who you would cast though. That would be the tough part.
Yeah.
But
Be fun.
But yeah, I say a good strong 7 though. Like it's not bad. It just doesn't add anything major to the canon.
Yeah, I didn't hate it. I didn't love it that much either.
Yeah. Like I'll say I love it. I just think it doesn't add anything major. Is why I'm not giving it like an 8. Like that's why I gave Dispatchers from the Occlusion Zone its 8. Like I think it's really good, and I think it added to context to the narrative going on. Whereas there's really no context to narrative here. This is just fun side stories. And you know what? Sometimes we just need that, which is why I'm like, it's still not bad. It's enough to get a 7. Like that's still good. If I didn't like, if I really didn't like it, I'd start going like 6 and 5, and that's how you know it's like, eh. But Ewoks, I'll let you take lead on this one.
Yeah, I'm giving it a 3.
The Ewok? Or...
Yeah, no, I'm fucking with you. It's not a 3.
No, I was about to say Ewoks is pretty good. Also, we didn't talk about it yet, so come on. You're in charge of this one.
Man.
So what do we got?
So essentially, the long and short of it is, we get to see Adelhard real quick because he's like, all right,
New Imperial guy who survived the destruction of the second Death Star. Why are you here? And he's like, I can get you more guns. Would you like some more guns?
Yeah, in a way, this ties into what our last with like Battle Jakku stuff, and so like this is basically like the Ewok equivalent of what's going on during all that, and we basically get to see the Ewok defend against the Empire again, and also like do their thing. We are going a little bit further than I wanted for today, so we can kind of like give a quicker. It's like a 4-issue.
So essentially, Wicket is held hostage. I'm kind of skipping a bit.
Yeah, we get some cool cameos though. We get Zuckuss and Forlom and so and even like that. I think that Acolyte of the Beyond is that who that is? The one with the axe. We also get the Durlocks, which is that's a deep cut. That's a deep cut to Legends. The Durlocks.
We got introduced to more wildlife in of Endor in this one.
Yeah, the Durlocks are basically like the native cousins to the Ewoks, but like the twisted version of like Ewoks, where they're it's the Jawas versus the Tuskens situation where they're but long and short.
It's this one guy, he's hired Forlorn Zuckuss and
mystery guy. Forget his name.
Not EX7. That's the name of the droid that's head he's carrying around.
Yeah.
Severin? No, that's a different.
No,
character.
that's Tarkin. You said EX7.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a type of droid.
Goddamn.
Anyways, main points.
Yeah. Wicket gets captured after spending time with the grumpy old man that lives at the edge of town.
Logray?
No, Logray is there as Myrtle.
Myrtle, that's right. Yeah.
And he's like, hey, so why do you... He's like, I just like being out here because I don't have to deal with a bunch of bullshit. So that's kind of the deal. And he's like, we got to be careful with outsiders because some of them are helpful and some of them are not. So we have to keep that in mind. And of course, oh no.
Oh yeah, and the Bright Tree, we get a lot of the connections to the Bright Tree Village and how important that is, and I really like that this kind of ties into legend stuff, because like even the name of this issue of like the arc, actually, because it's the name of the issue, but then it becomes the name of the whole comic run, Caravan of Courage, is a throwback to the old Legends live action made for TV movie Caravan of Courage, which was an Ewok movie about Ewoks, about Wicket and a bunch of the other Ewoks saving some humans who get stranded on the Forest Moon, whereas this is kind of like a bunch of people saving Wicket in a similar fashion, where we get this long journey of we get to see Endor and its dangers, and then of course on top of that the Empire is also involved, adding to it, and so I really like it. It's as somebody who's an Ewok defender, I like this, and I like having more Ewok culture and stuff brought up, and stuff that's translated also, because like normally the Ewok stuff would be like, oh, we're not going to translate, we're just going to have them talking Ewokese and you not know what they say and have somebody else like, you know, translate for them. And it's like, that I get you doing that, but like, is that the most interesting thing?
Turn Kolyata is the name of the Imperial that basically bought his way to success.
Yeah.
Our lying McLying Imperial.
Yeah.
Overall, you know, I'm gonna give it a 9, actually.
Yeah, I mean, so like eventually, like they do
describe it more.
They do deal with Kolyata. They do deal with Kolyata and all that. He gets his comeuppance. It's honestly,
he gets on latrine duty. For forever.
Honestly, I the real reason I don't want to give too much away is I want people to read it. Really, and I agree with you. It's a 9. Like it's a really good comic. Even if you don't like the Ewoks and you like, or you're ambivalent, Cole Orvik, yeah, that's the name of the other person. The Doatan, that's what them. They're just mercenary. Okay, they're not part of the. They look a lot like that one member of the Acolytes of the Beyond, though, that we saw, and because it was tied into Adelhard, I was like, is this no? But I'd say even if you're ambivalent to the Ewoks, this is a good way to maybe change your mind. Because we get a lot of insight into their culture. We get a lot of insight into like the characters, like because everybody knows Wicket. Wicket's like the face of Ewoks, right? But then we get Logray. We get Tebow, who's one of my favorites for a long. Like Tebow's always been one of my favorites, and I think if I remember correctly, they kept a lot of the legend stuff, which is like Tebow is like learning to be a magician under Logray. And like that's kind of his thing, is he's the magic user, which what magic is in Star Wars. Let's just Tebow could but he's not gonna, because it's kind of different. It's kind of different than the Force, but it's like it's a very small line between what Tebow and Logray know versus what the Force is. It's kind of similar to the Dathomirian, like the Night Sisters, where it's like.
You use a medium, you don't.
Yeah, like you're
directly connect.
Yeah, you're not directly connected. Yeah, and then we get Nisa, who's also a part of Legends. We get Chief Chirpa, obviously. As somebody who, as a kid, watched the animated show a lot, watched the live action made for TV movies a lot, I have them on DVD, and I've got the Battle for Endor signed by the witch from that movie, the Night Sister witch from that movie, the actress.
Maybe we do get to see the Great Devourer in a later comic.
Yeah, in a later issue we see the Great Devourer. Yeah, issue 1 it's just mentioned. The Great Devourer, being a Gorax, which is really cool. Once again, also a throwback to that, but also ties into the Tales from Vader's Castle stuff. So like, if you're just a Ewok fan, or even if you're not, this is a good comic. I would highly recommend this. It's a fun little. It's only 4 issues, so it's not.
Yeah, it's a fun read for a lazy afternoon.
Like, yeah, you're not being. It's not something that you're like. It's not a slog in any way whatsoever. It takes its time, but it's a good takes its time. It's not a oh, we're wasting your time. No, like if this was a actual 15 issue run, I'd be
if it was 15 issues,
like if it was like an actual ongoing, then I'd be like, okay, maybe it's overstaying its welcome for some people, Maybe if you're a hardcore Ewok defender like me, you would enjoy it. But in this case, since it's only a 4-issue miniseries, I say everybody should at least give it a shot. At least check out the first issue, and if it's still not your taste, that's fine. I get it. It's Ewoks. But yeah, so
I feel like I should clarify this because I didn't know people had apparently an immense dislike.
well, it's because it's the cute teddy bears took down the Empire thing, right?
Ah.
Yeah. So it's not taken seriously, except it's like it's supposed to, George Lucas paralleled, Vietnam War is what he's paralleling with the Empire is America in this case. In case you didn't know, for Return of the Jedi. But yeah, so 8, 7, and 9, and we kind of agree on that for this week's issues. That's it for me. Any other final thoughts?
I do like Mirdo and Asha's design.
Which Mirdo's the new one. He's the only new one for the Ewoks. Like, he's not someone that they brought from Legends or was already existing in canon. This is a new character. Because at the end of the 4th issue, they show you, like, a little bit of the character designs of how they came up with Mirdo and all that.
Yeah. Wicket bothering Mirdo, and he's like, I heard you took down a Gorox all by yourself, and Mirdo's like, I don't want to talk about it. Which is probably did, but doesn't feel good about it.
Yeah. But yeah. Thank you, everybody, for watching today's episode of Escape Reality Star Wars Talk. I've been your host, Caleb. Be sure to like, comment, follow, subscribe to us. Sorry, did you want to?
Nope. I realized that I could wait till the end.
You can also show your support for us by joining our Patreon, which is at Escape Reality Films. You can find us at Escape Reality Films, YouTube, at Escape Reality Films on YouTube, Twitch, Kick, TikTok, and Blue Sky. Shout out to Jennifer Brantley for being a part of our Patreon. Yeah. There you can watch our YouTube content before it's publicly available. Also, be sure to check out our Discord, which is also linked down below because this is a pre-recorded episode, so it's only on YouTube. And you can become a part of our community that way. Seth, shout out to our D&D friends.
Yep. Every second, or
Every other
Sunday from 5 to 7 Central Standard Time, you can catch some friends of ours over on YouTube at the Steam_Dungeon playing their D&D 5e campaign, Trials of Nebu. Oh boy, I had no idea what's going on. I'm not caught up, but now would be a good point to get invested, I guess.
Yep. Once again, though, thank you all for watching. Join us next week as we see the early days of the Empire and the Rebellion with the novel that I've been most excited about, Reign of the Empire, The Mask of Fear. I have spoken.
Y'all be safe out there.
Bye.